Hey everyone, welcome. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back. The book.
Sorry, Mike. Let me just turn down acoustic rock musician William Tyler on my Sonos app. I had that going in the background. Sorry. It's very convenient though. I could control all the music in my house with one simple app. Sorry about that interruption, folks. I don't expect another one to happen, although my Ring, a smart doorbell system, might ring. I'm expecting a delivery from Overstock.com.
You know, Connor, the best thing about this is it just organically worked its way into the episode. There was no, it did not sound forced at all.
Oh, good. The sponsors asked that I just try to do it as organically as possible with the product placement, but you know, I don't think anyone will notice. If they do, like, who cares? It's enough money that I don't care what people think.
Hey, you're sleeping on a Casper mattress. Your pool is heated. This is the podcast where we talk about books we are probably not going to enjoy. You know, Ernest Cline type books,
yes.
Jim Tice type books. You know the genre, people. Come on. And we're currently working our way through E.L. James' The Mister. By the way, I am Michael J. Nelson, and the Sonos owner is
Connor Listoka. Yeah, proud Sonos owner. That's true. I endorse the system. It just syncs up all the music in all the rooms of your house without having to worry about it. You know, it's It integrates all streaming services with the touch of a button.
You're a DJ on the go. One day you're in Ibiza, the next day you're in East London DJing. So you got to have your Sonos at the ready.
Oh, it's good stuff.
It is. So yeah, we're working our way through the Mister. We have all of our departments today. We got emails from listeners. Fanfic or real? I'm assuming you're all set up for that, Connor.
Absolutely, yeah. Lots of emails, lots of fanfic. People are surprisingly into this book, so they've got a lot of thoughts to share.
Well, these aren't the only people who are into it. I thought I'd throw you a curve. You know, I'm usually on the dock with the fanfic or real. I'm going to throw something at you. This is sort of a reverse calibrate your tastes.
Ooh.
What I did was I was looking up something else, and you know, you come across an Amazon review that you go, come on, what is this? And then you look at the person's other reviews, and you know, in a way, you're going, should I listen to this person?
Sure, yeah,
because they're reviewing, 5 stars for certain underwear or something. Like, all right, I'm not going to take them too seriously. So I found a good review, a 5-star review of The Mister.
Wow,
and
there aren't many of those.
No, there's not. And this is from a person called Barb T. She gives it 5 stars, says The Mister is a beautiful, endearing, and at times suspenseful story that is keeping with the current times. The characters are so real and emotion-filled, they touch my heart. It took me one day to complete my reading of this book. I literally could not put it down. If there were 6 stars or more available for a rating, and then there's ellipses, so wait for it. I have no idea what she's going to say. This book would rate them.
Wow.
So, and it goes on.
Wow. I like that she specified it fits in with the current times.
I don't know what that means exactly. I guess Sonos is what she
means. Maybe they specified in a later chapter that it had the latest 12.78 Sonos update, and so Barb knows that is what she's currently using.
All right, so your challenge is I'm going to name the object, and you tell me whether or not, just try to guess the stars. But if you're in the ballpark, that's fine, whether or not she liked it.
Okay, so I just have the mental picture of Barb and whether she's going to like this this product.
Knowing what you know about the Mister and what she said about it, does Barb like the Asus white optical mouse?
I guess I am guessing no. I guess Barb had some troubles with it. I bet the driver didn't work or something, and she had to call
5 stars.
Oh, damn
5
it.
stars. Cannot give up the mouse. Old-fashioned girl here, or just plain old. I cannot get used to that finger thingy. Tried and tried. Cannot do it. Need my mouse. Even tried talking to Google and Cortana. Not going there anytime soon. Yes, I know it's the future, but I'm not ready to have a computer talk to me yet.
Wow.
We'll give it another try when I lose the mouse, but don't cross your fingers on that one. Don't know what that means.
All right.
Love my mouse. So there you go.
So that's tricky because she is a technophobe, but I guess this is an older mouse that she was satisfied with and doesn't want to replace.
Right. Well, speaking of old, Q-tips. These are just classic Q-tips. What does she think of them?
Well, she loves them. She applies her makeup with them and
5 stars. Can't go wrong with Q-tips.
Oh, that's a T-shirt saying. That sounds like something from their 50s advertising campaign with like an anthropomorphic Q-tip saying that.
But I think that ear, nose, and throat guys tell you can go wrong with Q-tips if you put them in your ear. So
if you use them the way that that everyone knows you're supposed to, that's like deadly.
Tootsie Roll's 360-piece bag.
Loves them.
5 stars. I'm in Tootsie Roll heaven.
Oh my God. And
finally, she's got 109 reviews, but this is my last one. DVD of the Beatles' Help.
It arrived late, so she's not happy. 1 star.
Holy crap!
Is that
nuts on? Right on the screws. 1 star. Never received.
Oh my
I'm a big fan of the Beatles.
Well, there had to be a reason. There had to be a reason.
She's that person.
Wow.
Yep. So nicely done. There you go.
All right, that was fun.
It is. And there's like 532 reviews or something as of right now. So it's something we can revisit. See if it's holding steady.
Yeah, that's good. All right, very good job. Well done, Barb.
Yeah. Boy. We're at chapter 10. You want to bring people up to date, and then we'll dive in?
Yeah. So the Master Maxim, Mr. Maxim, is the DJ slash photographer slash composer slash heir slash lady man about town, and he is finding himself fleeing armed Albanian thugs who are have sex trafficked his maid, his daily, into the country from Albania. And they are now after her, and he is fleeing with her to one of his many estates where he thinks that she will be safe there. And but his real intention is that he wants to get busy with her, and he is sort of teeter-tottering between being like, I want her so bad. No, like, I can't do this. She's been through so much. Who cares? Like, let's, I want to be alone with her. And so they last we saw them, they were speeding away in his Jaguar, and he's got a private security service hired to protect the woman she had been staying with.
Right. So he's off to his rental duck hunting place.
Yeah, duck hunting / surfing place, which is in Cornwall, I think.
Yeah. So there's a big manor there, and I guess I didn't realize until they get there, which we'll get to. But he's keeping it a secret from her of who he is. Right?
Yes, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into a whole thing, but it's one of those things. But for some reason, he has opted to provide very little information about himself. And so I guess once she comes to his villa that's fully stocked and like the most modern building she's ever been in, it's going to come as a shock that he's rich to her.
Yeah, and all she knows, she keeps making guesses like he's a composer, I guess.
Yes.
Even though he's, he's also a photographer and a DJ, but she's settled on composer as
the way he earns his money.
The way he's earning his nut, yeah.
I guess maybe if he's, John Williams, that's the composer that you might have assume is affording these billion-dollar villas, but oh well.
Right. So go ahead, dive in. What do you got?
Yeah. Well, the very first thing is they're on their way, and Alessia is hunched down in the passenger seat with her arms wrapped around herself, but at least she's remembered to put on her seatbelt. And it's the first of 2 real spotlights that get hung on this seatbelt thing. So I'm thinking that your theory is definitely going to pan out later on.
Stomping the brakes and sending some Albanians a-flying?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that they, as we all know, Albanians do not wear seatbelts. This is
this is the most commonly known thing about Albanians, I would say.
We get a few more things about that later, so we can delve into those later. But so he's still talking to someone on the phone, Danny, I think her name was, who's setting up the hall for him. She says, "You'll not be staying at the hall? Not at the moment, no. Two rooms, you say?" And he thinks to himself, "Well, I had hoped for one." And I had just written in all caps in my red pen, "Sex trafficking victim."
Yes, well, he's giving her some space. He says, completely overwhelmed. I think it's best to leave her alone to gather her thoughts. Besides, it's late, and I have to make some calls. My sex slave is kind of grumpy. Oh, okay, I'll go make some calls then, I guess. Jeez.
Yeah.
Hero, ladies and gentlemen, hero.
He is the hero, and we get a lot of this sort of back and forth wishy-washiness about the whole thing, which ends up, as we all know where it's going. It goes exactly there. But before that, we get treated to the musical stylings of singer-songwriter Ben Howard.
I have written down, Connor, Ben Howard, your impressions, if any.
So
Why is this thrown in? I did not research.
It's
Ben
amazing. I thought at first, $10. This was her book club friend's like stepson or something that she was sort of putting it in there. But no, Ben Howard can buy and sell us. He's got over 600 million Spotify streams on just his top 5 most played songs.
What?
Yeah. He's I don't know how to describe him, but he's like he's not good. He's sort of the kind of guy that would be in that sort of Phil Phillips American Idol mold, I think. Just very, very just like breathy acoustic guitar strumming. But yeah, he's evidently massively popular.
Oh, in my head, I was kind of going for a Josh Groban type, where I've obviously never heard a single one of his songs. But
yeah,
he's, he could buy and sell even the Traffickers.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not exactly. I don't think it's that like operatic, like that sort of. He's much more sort of to use a choice word, husky voiced kind of guy. But
okay, all right.
I'm going to get ahead of a listener email, but he says when he turns them on, the sound of acoustic guitars filled the car, and I relax a little. And listener Janelle wrote in, I'm going to assume this is the Roller Gator soundtrack. I did isolate a snippet of that, so can we listen to it? We'll just assume that this is what he's listening to anytime Ben Howard comes on.
Sure, yeah.
Impersonations.
What?
Impersonations. Lucy, you have some splaining to do. Lucy, you cannot be in the show.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's Ben Howard for you. And just as a reminder, that plays throughout the entirety of the movie Roller Gator.
Oh, that didn't get irritating at all.
But yeah, so they're still driving. He's still getting hung up on everything that has happened to her. He says, my thoughts take a darker turn as I dwell on morbid fantasies of what she might have had to endure and of what she might have seen, this young woman in the hands of those monsters. I grip the steering wheel tighter as anger surges like sulfuric acid in my gut. This is just another, it's a firm settle down, but it's another thing in a series of either descriptions of romance or signs that he really, really needs to go see a doctor.
It happens a few times with him where later there's a similar thing happens where different surging emotions are hitting different parts of his body. And it's either stroke or it's sensing emotions of some kind. But the wild swings, I mean, he's not well. He needs a mood stabilizer or something, because at 1 second he's just burning with unquenchable lust. And then 2 seconds later, he's gripping the steering wheel and, grinding his teeth. He's a very excitable man. Yeah,
it's Homer Simpson having a heart attack, just like lurching into these contorted poses, but then going back to just like phew, like type of thing. So,
when it goes to her, it as we know, it ping pongs back and forth. But I think that starts to pick up pace here, the one perspective versus the other. So she's at this moment as she's crumpled over in the corner of his car. She says he's shown her nothing but kindness since she met him. And I thought I'd rewrite that for him. No, he's shown you nothing but boners since she met him. I mean, he's literally, his groin is tightening. It is comical at this point how often it happens.
Oh, yeah.
And what triggers it. And, the rapturous descriptions of her beauty, it can sometimes narrow in on like her eyelashes. God, shit. Her eyelashes are so beautiful. There goes the groin again. Like, what is happening with this guy?
Yeah, it's it's bordering like, Travis Bickle, like, cruising past and like looking at somebody just like, yeah, like you said, like her eyelashes. It's like, no, settle down, man. You it's aggressively horny. But I looked. I was very disappointed just because we do get several more of them in this chapter. But the term boner does not come up in the book.
Yeah, I was. I said casually to Bridget something about, I said something about groin tightening. It was in context, believe me. It was just she's like,
you just started using it, outside of the book.
What are you talking about? And I said, oh, sorry. It's in the book where she doesn't want to say he, popped another boner. So she came up with her own term that doesn't physically make any sense at all.
Yeah.
And she just rides it hard to use a phrase. Sorry.
Yeah. Not having read any romance novels, it's amazing what she will use and what she won't, Like there's a lot of common terms you would use to describe a lot of these acts and body parts and things that she opts not to use, but then goes full on, whole hog, to use another one in the later chapter. Like just, the explicit detail is something that I still am not prepared for.
Yeah. And it being our first time in this genre, is this a well-established vocabulary and we're just on the outside of it? I don't know. Maybe groin tightening is a commonly known phrase in these books.
Right. But yeah, we get, like her sex type of thing. It's like, it's like weirdly Shakespearean, but then just pure, just like erection straining against my jeans. It's like, all right, like it is, it's a weird mix. But so this is another good passage. I want to ask her what she's endured, what she's seen, but now is not the right time. All my plans, all my fantasies will be for nothing if she can't bear to be with a man, any man. And I realize that I can't touch her. Fuck. And then and so I ask you, who is the real sex trafficking victim here? The sex trafficking victim or the guy who can't bang her?
Right. Yeah. He's feeling sorry for himself already.
It's amazing. And so that gets tone deaf throughout the entire thing. And I don't want to keep harping on that, but it's going to be hard not to.
Well, before we get to any of that high-toned, descriptions of their love, we go to a place called, I think it's on the M4 or whatever. I don't know, one of the freeways. The Giordano Services.
Yes.
So I looked it up.
Okay.
It's owned by Welcome Break and offers KFC and Burger King food outlets, a general shop, a cafe, toilets, and shower facilities. So
perfect.
It's a very romantic place to take her. And and right after that, by the way, I was pulling lashes out of nothing, but I actually have a line here. She blinks several times, her long lashes fluttering over expressive but unfocused eyes. She is gorgeous. Unfocused eyes, so she's like Marty Feldman. She's pointing one way. Gorgeous. I just don't know how you can tell someone's eyes are unfocused.
That's true. Yeah, she looks like she's doing a magic eye puzzle or something.
Right.
I guess so. He takes her to essentially like the Vince Lombardi rest stop on the Jersey Turnpike, and is still quite besmitten with her as he's sort of leading her through this type of this type of place. But he brings her out of the car and she scans the surroundings. What's happened? I offer my hand and she grabs it, holding tight. Then to my delight and surprise, she curls her other hand around my biceps and clings for me. So he's delighted by her terror in being at one of these rest stops. And we later learn that she's terrified because the sex traffickers brought her to one of these rest stops in order to like wash up in the sink, I guess, before they were going to bring her to the final destination.
Right, which warrants for him, I think this is the first out loud shit.
Yeah.
So his other voice gets a hearing finally.
Yes.
the one in his head. One of his headmates finally gets to speak.
Yeah, they're coming out. That could be maybe that's a signifier. Maybe they are. She's telegraphing their eventual takeover.
Yeah, and then she says that she was there with there were a couple other women or something, and he goes,
Blariana, Flora, and Dorina.
Yes. Bloody hell. There are more women? Like, did he think there was only one woman servicing the entire industry or something?
Yeah. Come on, man.
Come on, we're efficiencies here. Of course we don't just do one at a time.
Right, scale. But this was another great exchange. It was just great prose. You want me to kiss you? I ask. She nods. Fuck.
That increases, I think, in this. And also there's a few just baffling, we talked about it last time, the italics, the things that could just be dialogue that are his internal, it just goes bananas now.
It goes, I have a quiz for you coming up.
Okay, good.
We're going to guess which of these single sentences on their own line is italicized and which is not.
Here, lest people think we're lying about this, actual line, I can bear no more, overcome by what this young woman has braved, I fold her into my arms and hold her tightly. I've got you, I whisper, my groin tightening.
Oh my God.
Yes. Our hero.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna keep coming up, and they were not to spoiler alert. They are going to seal the deal within this episode of our discussion here. So he's unable to resist everything we say here about her being a victim and her having to do this. He acts on it within this episode.
Yeah.
But he's not willing to do it here. He says no, not now, not here, not after what she's been through. And so it's like, okay, not after what she's been through. The next sentence, not in a service area on the M5. That's the true deal breaker. That's where he's drawing the line.
Well, there's been like 25 instances of, him pretending to be asleep and her laying on top of him and her grabbing him and him grabbing. I mean, it's just been ridiculous. So the fact that it takes till the middle of the book till they're boning is just bizarre.
True.
But she gets out of she goes to freshen up like she did back with, Blariana or whatever?
Blariana.
When she exits, Maxim is there, leaning against the opposite wall, tall and muscular, one thumb hooked in the belt loop of his jeans. And then I just continued, a stalk of grass in his teeth, his overall undone on one side, his feet bare.
Yeah, right.
Bizarre description of him. What is he doing? He's
posing for the
like
cover.
Jethro.
Yeah. For the cover of the Farm Hand by E.L. James.
Right.
I liked before she went into the thing, Maxim did a little reconnaissance on the bathroom. There is no line for the stalls. Only two women, one older, one younger, are there washing their hands at the basins. Neither of them looks as if she's been trafficked from Eastern Europe. So he's got a traffic dar going. And I don't know what the telltale sign is. If they're wearing I got trafficked to England for sex from Eastern Europe and all I got was this lousy t-shirt going, but
I have to do my lip update, which I'll do regularly throughout this book. We get a 2-for-1. She stares at his mouth and licks her lips. Later, a string of melted cheese sticks to her lips.
Oh, yeah.
A few sentences later, her lips curl in the semblance of a smile, but her eyes scour our surroundings. Scour our surroundings. Her unfocused eyes, I'm assuming. A few sentences later, she purses her lips. So that's what her lips have been doing for the past minute or two.
We did get a good good email about that, and so might as well mention it now since we're talking lips. But David wrote in and said he wanted to flag something. Characters keep biting their lips, and it's supposed to be sexy, but they keep biting their upper lip, not their lower lips. Have I gone insane? Isn't it the lower lip that gets bitten seductively? And he sent in 2 images. One is of the 50 Shades movie. And it's a girl biting her lower lip, as she's eyeing up the mister essentially. And it's a attractive looking gesture kind of. You can get where he's coming from. But he posts, here's what it looks like when you bite your upper lip, and it's this horrible English bulldog. And so I'll post those. But he says, I have now spent minutes of my life trying to seductively bite my upper lip and have concluded it cannot be done. To be fair, I'm not a hot British lord, billionaire, DJ, composer, professional model, so who knows?
I picture those old guys that can take their bottom lip and get it up over their nose or something.
The bald knobbers.
Yes. And now it's Fact King time. I hope you looked this up.
Yeah.
In Albania, we shake our head to say yes and we nod to say no, she explains. Connor, true or false?
Hey, I've got no way of knowing, so I did consult the king, and true, very true. We've got it right here. Opposite head shake. Albanians nod their head up and down to mean no and shake it from side to side for yes.
Wow, E.L. James went deep into Fact King for that.
It's so there's I kept referring back to Fact King because we get a few more absurd assertions about Albania, and they don't all turn up on Fact King, but I don't think there's any way she didn't look at it.
Yes, it's so great to imagine that that's where she got it all.
But yeah, so they had the first time I looked it up was they go into the store, they go to a Starbucks, which she recognizes it from the many she's seen in London. And then she says, there is so much to buy here. And he looks around. Everything seems so commonplace to me. Don't you have shops in Albania? And factskings.com was silent on that matter. They do, in fact, have shops in Albania. But she looks at his card, and she's amazed by his debit card. Your card is magic. Magic? Well, I have to agree with her. It is magic. I've done nothing to earn the money that's paying for the petrol. My wealth is merely an accident of birth. Yes, I murmur, magic. And I didn't look at whether they have debit cards in Albania, but you are renting those cars that have seatbelts with something, so I'm guessing they are more commonplace than Alessia is letting on.
Well, he asks her after a few of these questions, how sheltered was this girl's upbringing? Like, she grew up in a rural Albanian town. She just told you. She doesn't regularly go to East London DJ clubs to hear Bhangra music or whatever.
It's very easy to imagine, even if you are a man about town in London, that there are people in the world who probably don't use, iPads and stuff. So
right. Our hero again. Oh, I got to do a lip report. Her index finger, she pushes it back into her mouth and sucks her finger clean. My body comes to attention.
Yes.
Recent sex slave, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. And on that same note, in a club, people dance to. I DJ a couple nights a month in Hoxton. I glance at Alessia, who's staring blankly at me. She has no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll have to take you to a club, he said to the sex trafficking victim. That's something I want to add on to a lot of things. I'll said the robot pimp disdainfully. Right.
Yeah. Here's one that even this a-hole can't be proud of. She's asleep. She must be exhausted. I study her face. Even in the harsh glare of the garage's security light, her features are soft and delicate in repose. Sleeping beauty. Oh, God. That's what he comes up with.
That's what he comes up with.
The beautiful person who is sleeping.
For the first of two in this section.
Yes.
He calls her Sleeping Beauty a bit later.
So sticking with that, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. He also reminded her to put her seatbelt on when they got back in the car, so he's going to have to unbuckle that when they get to the house. But when they do get there, he says something to wake her up that you totally say when you're intending to give someone your space to recover from their trauma at your sexy bachelor pad. Hello, beautiful. We've arrived.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. He's already... So he's, like you said, he's calling her beautiful. They're, kissing occasionally, and yet he's still doing the lurching back and forth between thinking that she doesn't like him and thinking that she's smitten with him type of thing, which... I mean, man, if in middle school, when I was having to be does she like me or not? Yes or no? If I had been smooching them and calling them beautiful, that would have been a bit clearer of a sign, I think, for me.
Yeah, and the words that he comes up with, they get increasingly nauseating when he's describing her. I can't believe she wouldn't turn and run the first time. I mean, beautiful's pretty bad. Okay, all right, buddy, what do you want from me? But it gets worse after that.
It does. I've got him noted. There was a 1.5 page stretch where he just kept escalating him, and it was very unacceptable.
Well, that's all I got for
that's
10.
Chapter 10. Yeah, they've arrived at his estate. Chapter 11 kicks off with they are getting into examine the house that he has for her. Alessia start narrating. She is here, alone with him. She shoots him an anxious glance. Now that she's sitting in the dark with this man she hardly knows, she wonders at the wisdom of her decision. And my note was just, all right, we'll just wait till you're probably banging in 30 pages to question the wisdom of your decision. And then I sort of staked my claim on that, and unfortunately it took about 60. I was optimistic.
It was a little longer. I assumed, hit the house, and then right into the bedroom. But there's a lot more dancing around and padding to do before then.
Yeah, I'm a lot more acting like a acting like a mental patient when you see the ocean for the first time.
Maxim puts his arm around her in a gesture that she suspects is to protect her from the cold.
I did not.
She suspected it, but his groin was also tightening quite a bit. So it was either that or the groin tightening was the goal. I don't know.
Conflicting signals. Suspecting of that is an interesting way to put it. Like suspicion. It implies that she's not entirely okay with it.
Yeah, but the first thing they do, they go crack a beer.
Yes.
At Lord Trevathick's place. And it's described this way. From another cupboard, he takes out a tall glass and deftly pours one of the bottles into it. Pouring a beer. This guy really is a lord. He's really holding his skills over us here, showing off.
So how deft was it? Did he like flip it behind his back like Tom Cruise before he did that? I also thought maybe he like a cartoon bartender, he poured it and then like left to do something else on the side, and the beer kept pouring itself like suspended in midair.
He just did the super, take the glass far away from the stream of liquid pour, while looking at her, doing it without looking at the glass. Yeah.
Yeah, the next time I pour a beer for someone and it's not like, 80% head, I'm going to be like, pretty deft, huh? And they're going to be like, what on earth differentiated this from any other person who's ever poured a beer?
Right. Quick lip alert. He clinks her glass with his beer bottle and takes a swig, his lips circling the bottle's neck. Gross, you freak. He closes his eyes, savoring the taste. Also gross. And for some reason, she has to look away. His lips.
Yeah, that's just, the lip action is coming fast and furious. That's two in two sentences.
E.L. James, we need to interview her. What is going on with this?
I feel like a beer bottle, there's definitely a chance that like the plate that holds the cap on, like that sort of inclined plane there, has a chance of like being nicked. You start running your lips along there, that's going to be like a chance of nicking him or something.
Circling the beer bottle with your lips is not I understand why she has to look away. That is just revolting. It would cause you to, you don't want to immediately insult the person, but if somebody offered me a beer and did that, I go, what are you doing? What? I think I need to go.
Yeah, it's one step from like, getting your, sucking your lips into the bottle and seeing if you can hold it on your, with just like, without holding it with your hands. Like I can hold it by just, sucking it into my tongue.
Right.
What a stunt. Before he offered it a beer, this was another chance that I think Fax King might have reared its head. Wine, beer, something stronger, he asks. Where she's from, women don't generally drink alcohol, though she sneaked a raki or two, but only on the last couple of years on New Year's Eve. And then Fax King says, in Albania, people manufacture their own brand of liquor called raki. Raki is basically poison. Parentheses, but not really, just kind of tastes like it.
Oh, Fact King, you can't be editorializing like that.
Yeah, it's like two different people are the Facts King here.
It's two warring Wikipedia writers, I guess, correcting each other in the notes section.
Facts King by committee.
Yeah. But that place, the place he takes her, the hideout, it does have a kawaii piano. She doesn't recognize the name, but that doesn't bother her. Are people typically bothered when they see a brand of piano they don't recognize? I am not familiar with this response to piano brands.
Yes, exactly. Especially since she's in a position to be choosy about her brand of, $5,000 musical instrument.
Right. But then she starts playing it and she says to herself, "E perkier," she breathes. And I had to acknowledge that when I didn't recognize the words ear perkier, it did bother me quite a bit that she's just throwing this stuff in now.
Yeah. Yeah. For as attached as I got to Zot over the past 250 pages, I was extremely bothered by all this other Albanian we start getting thrown at us.
Yeah. And in the boning scene, it really, becomes troublesome.
This is speaking of something that bothered me. When she got into this place, she said, On the other side of the kitchen is a main living area with a white dining table that seats 12 people and 2 large dove-colored sofas.
Mm-hmm.
So doves, usually I associate white. I guess they could be grayish, but dove-colored, that's not a thing, is it?
No, that I noted that too. It's like the the Gap used to got made fun of, just inventing your own colors. You have blue shorts and you call them pool or whatever. Like that's not a color,
right?
So yeah, she just throws in a Gap shorts color out of nowhere. Dove.
Oh man, yeah, and especially because she used white in the previous sentence, so she could either one make the sofas different colored, or two make the dining table a more normal. But if they're both white, like settle the hell down.
She has, had half a beer. Her lips have circled the beer bottle top, and she's had a little to drink, so she's getting a little crazy with her colors, I guess. And her synesthesia is probably kicking in too.
Oh yeah, right. That hasn't been addressed. It doesn't really come up in this chapter. You'd think it probably is going to have some sort of sexual connotation later, but. Ugh.
Yeah, does it work the other way? When you see something dove-colored, do you then hear, like an A minor chord or something? I don't know. I'm sure we'll explore that.
Yeah. He explains to her, "This is my family's holiday home. Think of our time here as a holiday, a place to think, reflect, get to know each other, and get some distance from all the recent dreadful events in your life." And bang, he added to the sex trafficking. And then he says, "What a day!" And I was like, "Oh right, it has been 5 hours since like the thugs showed up. Like, there's still a chance, someone might be in shock from that type of incident, from having to flee that type of thing. But right. He is swirling his lips around beer bottles and still just like groaning about his memory of kissing her.
She also is super excited that she has her own bathroom. Thank you, she says, but the words seem woefully inadequate for the debt she owes him. And I guess it's because she's about to drop the world's worst stink pickle or something. I don't know. Oh, my God, my own bathroom. Yes. I got some work to do in there. Does it have handrails?
I could never repay you for what is about to happen in here. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Lucky you don't have synesthesia and you hear music when you see smells, because that is... Whew.
She's rummaging under the sink immediately to make sure there's a plunger under there.
Danny, who maintains the dogs, is feeding them their nightly meat when she sees a mushroom cloud coming up over the hassock that guards the hideout from the rest of the estate.
So I don't have a lot left for chapter 11. What do you have? Oh, I have I don't know if it's worth reading, but it's the most worthless paragraph in the whole worthless book, I think. It's very short. I'll read it. "While I down the remaining beer, I wonder what's happening in the hall. I decide that I can find out tomorrow, and I'll let Oliver know where I am. I doubt there's anything urgent to deal with, and I'm sure he'll be in touch if there is. I can work down here. I have my phone, though I wish I'd brought my laptop." This is a paragraph in a book.
Yes. It is it's an Andy Rooney-esque type of thing, or just thinking out loud as you're cooking breakfast. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out the purpose of that.
We have this. It took every shred of self-control not to pull her into my arms, and what? Even after all she's told me, I can't keep my thoughts above my waist. I'm like a fucking horny schoolboy. and with this hyper level of introspection and self-awareness, I will do absolutely nothing. And then he says one sentence later after the schoolboy, "But the truth is, I still want her, and don't my blue balls know it."
Oh, yeah. God. That is dreadful.
Here's where we have my guessing game for you. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines in the book. And they were either they're all his internal monologue, but are they italicized internal monologue, or are they just normal unitalicized? I don't know what to call them because they're both the same thing. But I'm gonna read them one by one. You can guess whether they were italicized or not.
Okay.
"Leave the woman alone."
Italicized.
Yes. "But the truth is, I still want her, and don't my blue balls know it."
Non-italicized.
Yes. "Hell, after all, Alessia's been through. She deserves a break."
Non-italicized.
That's italicized. She doesn't need my lascivious attention.
Non-italicized.
Non-italicized. She needs a friend.
Italicized.
Non-italicized. There are two nons back to back. Bugger. What the hell is wrong with me?
Oh my God.
That's what's italicized. So it's a even distribution, but they're not back to back. It's amazing.
I'm just looking at one now. He leaves the door ajar on a room. After saying, "Sleep beautiful," I whisper, "Get out of my room." Sleep beautiful. And then he leaves the door ajar, and in italicized, "Just in case she needs me." I don't. What? Why?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I guess she could be confused by how to operate the Sonos music system. Maybe he's got a fancy white noise system installed.
If she has one of those, it's got to be confusing because it's a bunch of people about to say "zot." I guess it's just going
right. That's how that's what the Albanian The Mask would say. This is just a couple back-to-back lines. "I want her badly. I'm infatuated." You're a dangerous sex addict, is what you are. And then like a line or two later, "I fucking burn for her." Again, go see a doctor.
Yeah, also, give us new information, too. I mean, that was page 1 stuff, you burning for her was, it's been played out a lot.
"I'm infatuated" is 100% telling, not showing, when we've been shown a lot. And he goes back to say that again later when he's watching her, like, run around on the beach. He says just, "I'm infatuated." We know. We are well aware. Yes. It's literally been told to us.
But as he puts her to bed, we do get a little... I call it Joe Biden fanfic. I press a soft kiss in her hair and shift her into the
bed. But this is after he's kissing her hair. Like he smells her hair a lot too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people are smelling each other's hair in this book.
Yeah, it's that figures into their boning too.
Okay. So yeah, he's kissing her hair, and this is just another section where, based on the sleep assault that took place in the previous chapter, I'm not sure that E.L. James has ever slept, because she doesn't seem to understand how it works. She's crumpled on the floor, her head in her hands. So she's freaked out about the dark, and he's gone into to see her screaming. She's crumpled on the floor, her head in her hands, right where I left her. Her grief is a reflection of my own. "I've got you," I whisper past the knot that constricts in my throat. "I couldn't rescue my brother from the demons that drove him out on his motorbike, but I can help this beautiful girl, this beautiful, brave girl." Her sobbing ceases, and she splays her hand over my racing heart and holds it there. I don't know for how long. Finally, she quiets and relaxes against me. She's fallen asleep. So she goes from sobbing on the floor to him like holding her and saying relax, to just in the span of I don't know how long falling asleep in his arms. It's absurd. Unless she has like narcolepsy and is just going to be doing this throughout the rest of the book.
She's a synesthetic narcoleptic, I guess.
Synesthetic narcoleptic.
Yeah. Yeah, this, I guess, would just be another of their symptoms of them going from one wild extreme to another. And she's a fainting goat, She gets excited and goes down.
Yeah. I mean, it's convenient, I guess, for all the stuff that that needs to happen for this relationship to be pushed forward, but whatever.
Yeah, so when she screams and he runs in there, he says, "I'd imagined all manner of horrors and was prepared to fight any number of monsters, but I relax at her words." And I just thought, practically speaking, when did you imagine all manner of horrors? This is seconds after she screamed.
Yes.
What is he running through in his head? Like, there's probably one of those demon bats attached to her face. I could fight that. I'm going to get an axe handle and knock it off, and then... But yeah, he'd imagined all manner of horrors in that.
And it was prepared to fight any number of monsters, like the Florida skunk ape, the
goat sucker.
has broken through the window. And he wasn't prepared. He didn't even grab a weapon, as far as I could tell. Like he didn't even grab a lamp off of the bedside table or something.
Yeah. But again, to save the cat. Again, here he is. I won't touch you. This is just sleep. So the next time you scream, I'll be right here. Of course, I'd like to make her scream in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beavis and Butthead come in and write a sentence for him.
Yeah, I'd like to make her scream in a different way.
Right. Yeah. And to the same thing, like as he's calming her, she glances down at my chest and a slow flush pinks her cheeks. Yeah, I normally sleep naked. Count yourself lucky I put these on, I quip to the terrified sex trafficking victim. So yeah, he's really doing the which way is the gym flex type of thing. Count yourself lucky I put pants on? My God.
He quipped. Oh, yeah, Oscar Wilde would be real proud of that quip.
Yeah. Madam, count yourself lucky I put on pants before this cocktail party, and you will still be ugly in the morning.
Quick lip alert. Alessia hesitates, looking for me to the bed, and her lips purse with what I think is resolve. Lip alert, a sentence later, my eyes stray from her eyes to her lips, which I assume are still pursed in resolve, but it's good to get an update.
Right. As he keeps looking back and forth, you would assume maybe he would look back and forth and they would change, but no additional information there.
I couldn't uncover an example, but I'm pretty sure that in the maybe 10th grade, I wrote an essay and I began it with, I awoke with a start.
Nice.
And that is in this book. He wakes with a start. Which I thought was so lame. Like, I got a C on that in the 10th grade,
right? For
using that terrible cliche. And it's here as a chapter opener or a little, section opener here.
Yeah, I guess when someone is screaming, that might be the traditional way you might wake up. It's not going to be the cartoon da da na 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 of you yawning yourself away because the screams are happening in the background.
Yeah,
but so he comforts her by saying, "I think you should sleep with me." And without waiting for a response, I carry her into my room, flick on the lights, and deposit her on the floor beside the walk-in wardrobe. I won't touch you. This is just sleep. So the next time you scream, I'll be right here. So he's not really he's never really given her a say in this matter in terms of where she's going to be spending the night.
Yeah, he picked her up and took her forcibly into his room. The sex-trafficked woman, escaped sex slave.
But we get the full she's all that where he says she struggles into the PJ top, which is too big. She undoes her braid and shakes out her hair. So we're getting that the full transformation from the mousy little house cleaner into the sex goddess here.
Yeah, and her hair, this had not been mentioned before. It's surprisingly long.
Oh yeah, it's like
it goes to her waist.
The one that she was covered by her hair as she rode into town.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
It's way longer than I thought it was. But here once again, our hero, he asks her if she's hungry, and here he becomes a trucker at a truck stop diner when he says, "Hungry? I know I am, and not for food." What I want ain't on the menu, darling. That's what he's doing to the recently escaped sex trafficked lady.
Yes. Those aren't the only eggs I want to see sunny side up, sweetie. And if I direct your attention to my hat, there might be something I'd care to do after wining and dining you.
It says it right here. By the way, I for years collected dirty trucker hats till finally my wife made me. It was a thing. A friend of mine would send them to me when he'd stop at a truck stop.
What was what's your favorite?
Oh, I mean, look, I'll say it. This is on a truck. My favorite was, "Don't argue with your wife, just dick her."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just abandoning all pretenses of wordplay or...
Yep. No, just awful. We need to return to Fact King here.
Okay.
She washes her hair and carefully shaves her body with the disposable razor Magda gave her.
Okay.
Is that Albanian for her? She's shaving her entire body, I assume?
The Albania Facts King is silent on the matter of whole body shaving for Albanians. We should write him an email with these questions, I guess. He should have sort of an open system for us submitting our questions. I mean, if we're going to travel there, we don't want to be offending people by not doing this.
That's true. I better get shaving. And then he's frying bacon. The aroma is delicious, and he's shuffling to the beat of the dance music that is thumping through the room. Alessia cannot help but grin. I mean, it's no vacuum cleaner funny, but it's pretty good stuff.
It's no wastebasket devoid of used condoms, and it's no Michael taking selfies, but an easily amused woman. We want to keep people up to date on this because there is a astonishingly stupid coincidence, I guess, even though the author of the book clearly created it. She's getting into bed with him to sleep platonically, but she notices his tattoo, which we alluded to in a fan fiction. I hold my breath as she traces the outline of my tattoo, her fingers skirting across my skin, her light touch echoing through my body toward my groin, and I suppress a groan. She says, "This is the symbol for my country. The two-headed eagle is on the Albanian flag." He thinks to himself, "What are the odds?" Yeah, the odds are pretty shitty, man. But if we're going to be doing insane coincidences to cosmic level coincidences, like, sure, what are the odds? Like that's a big one.
But then it's probably a red herring because there's not these yellow circles. She adds.
Yes, right. Because it turns out the two-headed eagle is the Trevelyan-Trevithick family crest.
Right.
Which you'd think people would be like, hey, this is the crest of this repressive communist country, you guys. Maybe we ought to think about changing that. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's make it something way cooler. And but no, I guess it's been like this in the family for a while.
Yeah, so that's their coat of arms. The family coat of arms is Albanian, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe it will turn out that they have a Albanian heritage or something like that, and it will be a meant to be type of thing.
Of course. So she goes bananas to go down to the sea, which she's never seen. Can we go down to the sea? Her eyes are alive with delight as she bounces up and down like a child, which I should note, like a child, but as we learned earlier, old enough. So we're good to go, but she is very childlike.
Yes.
And later we get those SpongeBob PJs, so
yeah.
Hold on to your hats.
I hope it comes out that like she's only ever seen like the Bay of Fundy, or she's seen a fjord, or she's seen the ocean, but she's never seen like the North Sea, and that's what she's got. She parses her massive unconstrained bodies of water by just the term they're assigned in their name. Right. We got some great dialogue that I think puts some things to shame. When he's serving her breakfast. 2 eggs? No, 1. You sure? Yes. Okay, just 1. I'm having 2. So like, suck it, Casablanca. Farewell scene on the plane type of thing. We got some great love dialogue going on. And then,
I isolated some in the next chapter that if you take away all the filigree, I just took the pure dialogue, but it's exactly like that. But I'll get to that in the next chapter.
This is also the scene where he turns the Sonos volume down via the app on my phone. In case you were wondering what the hell we were talking about earlier, we got 3 Sonos mentions where he sort of instructs her how to use this app to conveniently manage the phone. This was a great passage during breakfast. Using her long, nimble fingers, she fishes the toast out of the toaster and butters each slice.
Yeah.
Do you you remember who else had long fingers?
Well, I put Gollum next to that sentence, but yeah,
the mother in Armada.
That's right.
She was leaping out of the car and running to mine, covering her mouth with her long fingers. His insanely hot mom. So I guess this is just a thing that insanely hot people have that I just never have really picked up on.
You've got that. You've got the fornicating duck coincidence. I don't know, man.
Yeah, we could be having some ghostwriting going on. Maybe that's what's been delaying Ready Player 2.
But then so they do the breakfast, and he unmans himself by starting to clean up. But surely he's not going to wash up. No man does that. I just thought, you're damn right. I'm warming to this Alessia person.
Yeah, and this causes a big argument as she's like trying to insist, and he's doing like the no, I'll take care of it thing, and she like runs off. She whispers, hurries out of the kitchen, confused and wondering if he's angry with her. Please don't be angry. What the fuck? What did I say? I watch her retreating figure, noting that she deliberately avoids eye contact with me. Shit.
This happens a lot. She leaves, I think in the next chapter, she runs away and leaves again.
Yep.
So, yeah, they have a complicated relationship already, even though they've only, driven up to Cornwall together.
Right. But yeah, we ventured into chapter 12, I guess, a long time ago. But he orders her up some clothes, I think, for some a winter coat and some new shoes. The only thing he's done that's impressed me so far is he says shoe size, and she goes 38. He does some mental calculations. That's size 5, and so kudos to him. Because every time I see, like, that when shoes list, like, the other countries.
Yeah, European
sizes,
sizing. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like doing Celsius to Fahrenheit in your head. I mean, that's, I take my hat off to him on that stretch of his day.
Here's a description that she makes quite a distinction here about his eyes. Up close, she notices that the irises are a darker green around the edge, the color of a kuka's fur, while toward the dilating pupil they're lighter, like a fern in the spring. I had hoped his response would be, her hair is dark, like the records I spin in East London when I'm DJing, but around the pupil they're slightly less dark, like the other record I spin when I'm DJing, because I have 2 turntables.
Yeah, they're the inside of them is the light blue that was the color of the limited release vinyl that Deadmau5 provided for Record Store Day in 2017.
So she goes around and she runs around on the seashore, jumping up and down. And
my God.
As she runs around like an idiot at the seashore, he says, it's impossible not to smile. And I disagree. It is not hard at all to not smile at that.
Yeah, it's very
disgusting
easy.
Display.
Yeah, so she's the full text. The sea, she cries and twirls around, her arms in the air. Her earlier peak is forgotten. Her smile is wide and her face bright, lit from within by her joy. The sea, she shouts again above the roar of the water. She gesticulates wildly, her arms like a crazy windmill, welcoming each wave as it crashes to the shore. I would watch the children's cartoon Crazy Windmills, like just a family of crazy windmills and their adventures with that Quixote guy who keeps trying to run into them.
Right. Yeah, it's not a very dignified display, but he only loves her more.
I guess it's understandable because it's been so long since she's seen the ocean.
Yeah.
Adam Duritz can relate. But that's, I suppose it's supposed to be a sweet sort of thing. It's hard to imagine not taking the ocean for granted. If you would, I guess if you were going to the Grand Canyon, I guess you could be overwhelmed by that type of thing. But it's, I guess.
In fairness, I had a roommate who was from Hawaii, and he woke me up at the first snowfall he'd ever seen, and insisted that we go outside, which was kind of amusing. He'd never seen snow, and he couldn't really imagine how it felt, on his face. So yeah, I guess.
Did his groin stir?
Of course, it tightened horribly. That's all I got for that chapter.
That's all for that chapter. I do want to mark the place where we went over it, but the place where I said I realized that we were going to be in over our head, and that was this passage. She is all, so he wakes up in the morning. She is all over me, and fast asleep. And my cock is wide awake and rock hard. If I roll over, she'll be on her back and I can finally bury myself in her. And so that was just like, oh boy, like it's going to be that kind of party.
Oh boy.
We're not even there yet, but it's, and it does, it gets substantially worse, people. But, before we get to that part, though, I think we should probably read some of our patented reader fanfic.
And now I bet they bitching 'cause my flow switching, trying to tell me what to write. Up on some fan fiction, can't they just be happy?
Okay, hit me with your best shot. What do you got for me?
I have 5 passages that either come from later in the Mister or were written by our devoted listeners. We thank everyone who does those. You're going to guess whether they are real or fanfic. Number 1.
Okay.
Carolyn's eyes were rimmed in red. She'd been crying. Hard. Fuck. I felt a mix of compassion for my friend and disgust for my brother, having finally confirmed my worst suspicions. It's my fault he is dead, she said finally, as though the wind had been knocked out of her. We'd been trying for so long with so much heartbreak. It was just hard for him to touch me anymore. Soft hair, wet with tears, stuck to her face. So he went elsewhere. Her fragile body looked as though it would break as she wailed for everything now gone to her. I felt sorrow, then rage, then a fucking shocking realization that Kit was not the perfect heir he'd been groomed to be. And here I was, always the spare, yet ultimately the morally intact one? Shit.
Oh, I think that's real.
All right. Some more information about the death of Kit. Number 2. In the trunk of the Mercedes, Alessia clutches the flashlight as the car lurches to a stop. They must have reached the border with Croatia. She closes her eyes, pulls her coat over her head, and switches off the flashlight. She doesn't want to get caught. She just wants to get home.
Fanfic.
Okay. They're lovely. This is number 3. They're lovely, raising the ordinary to the extraordinary, she says dreamily, lost in the painting's exquisite fine artistry. Her profile is so delicate, an upturned nose, soft full lips, and her words. She mirrors my sentiments exactly, the ordinary to the extraordinary. And it's a keen observation on a first glance. She's bright. I mutter my agreement as I sit down opposite her. She proceeds to fish a crumpled sheaf of paper and a recorder out of her overlarge bag, and then she's all fingers and thumbs, dropping the damn thing twice on my Bauhaus coffee table. She's obviously never done this before. For some reason I can't fathom, I find it amusing. Normally this kind of fumbling maladroitness would irritate the fuck out of me, but I have to bite my lip not to laugh and resist the urge not to set it up for her myself.
Lip biting does add verisimilitude, but I'm going to say that is fanfic. The Bauhaus table is just a bit too much.
Tipping the hand. It's funny, what does it? Number 4, surreptitiously, I watch her as she busies herself in the kitchen. Her movements are neat and elegant. She has an intrinsic sensuous grace, and I wonder if she's ever been a dancer. When she turns, her glorious hair spills down around her elfin face, and with a delicate flick of her wrist, she flips it out of the way. Her long, slender fingers hold the knife as she slices open the baked potatoes, releasing wisps of steam. With her brow fixed in concentration, she spreads butter on them, and she stops to lick some melted butter from her index finger. My groin tightens.
Well,
oh boy.
It hits all the marks. I'm going to say it's real, but I suspect it's just well done fanfic. But I'm going to say real because it's so well done.
Oh, man. Yeah, it is. And then number 5. Alessia was so glad that her ordeal is over and decently, even triumphantly over, that she takes his arm and begins to sing. She takes big masculine strides to keep up with his, but every now and then he has to give a little skip to make good lost ground. She fits these in with her song so that her voice gives an upward skip at the same time as her feet. Are you tired? Maxim asks, as she seems to lag. No. It was the first time he had ever asked that, and Maxim again knew himself to be happy. He thought, if we could only stop life for a while, I would stop here. Not when I get home, not leaving Trevithick, but here, reaching the top of the hill out of Cornwall, dusk wiping out the edges of the land, and Alessia walking and humming by my side. Alessia begins to sing, mischievously and in a deep voice. There was an old couple, and they was poor. Tweedle, tweedle, go twee.
What in the holy hell is that? I don't know. Real?
All right. Let's go through them. I think this was a tough section. So number 1, this was where he's talking to Caroline and about she's responsible for Kit's death. You said real. That was fanfic.
Wow. Okay.
By Wendy. Yeah.
Nice.
So making up. Yeah. The good italicized profanities in that one. Good potential hint into Kit's death, but turns out it's fake. The next one I think you said was fanfic, her being in the trunk going to Croatia. That's real. So we've got that to look forward to. Number 3, I believe you said was fanfic. And that is fanfic, but That was E.L. James's own fanfic. That was her first Twilight fanfic that she wrote as Moondragon Winter's Bane or something, whatever she called herself. So he just changed a few. He just made it fit into the world of this. I guess he didn't really tweak much, but he might have just changed the character names.
Yeah. Wow.
That's
incredible.
So biting his lip and Bauhaus coffee table are. And then, she's delicate, upturned nose. So, yeah, a lot of similar tropes she's trotting out, even when she was just a fanfiction.net writer. Number 4, the one that you hit on everything that I thought you were going to guess fanfic. That one was real. The cutting a baked potato with long fingers and his groin tightening as she licks butter off her index finger. That's...
it's still happening? Paragraph
exactly.
or chapters ahead of us.
I thought you were going to think that was just someone who picked up on too many things at the same time, but that was real.
Wow.
And then the last one you guessed was fanfic. That is true. That was Patreon supporter Lorne, who I'm not sure what he meant by this, but he says, "This is a bit of fanfic I'm taking from the Regency romance series Poldark, changing the names and sloppily futzing with the tenses, because just like 50 Shades was an alternate universe fanfic with the serial numbers filed off, it seems like so is this one." So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Poldark or what that is, but that was what the last one was. Well done, everybody.
Yeah, very well done. That was just darts on a dartboard there.
But yeah, so later on we've got her cooking baked potatoes for him, licking butter off her index finger, and that's I guess like what was that movie with like Mickey Rourke and Kim Basinger where they just bang the whole time?
Right.
7.5 days, 9.5 weeks.
9.5 hours, 28 days later. I don't know, something like that.
127 hours. That was a sexy movie. Well, good job, everybody. Thanks for sending in the fanfic. Like we said before, some of those people were Patreon supporters. You can support us on Patreon and participate in fun things like the meme contest we've got running. And you can get every episode early, which lets you listen to this as early as humanly possible and get a start on next week's reading. So that's at patreon.com/372pages if you are inclined to head on over there and chip in just a little bit every month.
Yeah, and a lot of hot talk about trucking through time.
Man,
we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. It's just people are excited, and the book is laying around, and I'll pick it up every now and then and just read the thing, and without scanning it because I don't want to cheat. But I put a couple of teases in there, so if you're a Patreon member, you can get a little taste.
Yeah, it's like they always say that the most popular guy in town on a football team is the backup quarterback, because people are always talking about like, well, maybe if he was in, we could be doing this, and that's sort of trucking through time is the backup quarterback everyone's clamoring for. But we'll get to it. Settle down. Yeah,
we'll get to it. This is we got good stuff here. We're in the middle of this. Chapter 13.
Yeah.
It begins with them. Alessia and Maxim lean against the chimney stack, staring out at the choppy sea. So leaning against chimney stacks is a good part of his life. I'm glad she can share it with him.
Right.
He's often doing that for some reason.
I wonder if Alessia was like the hard stone here makes me think of the Albanian people. He's like, settle. No, this represents the traffickers. We've established that clumsy metaphor in a previous chapter. So back off.
Yeah.
She sees the sea once and gets all starts thinking she can metaphor things.
The length of her hair is mentioned again here. And I think when hair was mentioned early on, she was always putting it up into something, right? She had it was her cleaning costume was mentioned 500 times. I should know it by heart.
Yeah, she was putting it into an anorak, right?
Well, she also had she had like a babushka or whatever they call them.
Right.
She had the bandana or something. Mm. She peels off her hat, releasing her hair. Her cheeks are flushed from the cold. The dark curls falling almost to her waist. That's very long, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's.
It's notable when someone has hair that is nearly to their waist, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No. The hair has been it's almost as if it's like it's like when a TV show decides that a character is going to be important in season 3 or something. Like the hair is really, really getting its moment in the spotlight once she gets to the estate.
Yeah, and believe it or not, right after that, because of the hair, he says, "I'm beguiled, totally and utterly beguiled," that's new information, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. He was only infatuated in the previous chapter.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There was a moment here that had me run into the king. He's asking her about the like her hometown, because she's looking at the mine that he used to play in as a child. He asks, "What do they mine?" She says, "Crom." I don't know the word. Chromium? She shrugs. I don't know the English. So Fax King had no information about Chrome, but another Patreon supporter, Sarah, sent us a clip from Cheers that has Albanian facts. So if she's not getting everything from the Fax King, E.L. James, I think, definitely consulted this episode of Cheers. If we can just take a listen to this.
Albania, Albania, you border on the Adriatic. Your land is mostly mountainous, and your chief export is chrome.
Yeah, everything you need to know.
Yeah, so they've the chief export is, or at least it was in the 80s, or in the Coach era, was chrome. So there we go. They made a good character here too, I think. Father Trewin.
Yes, Father. Yeah, this is I assume to give more color and depth to our character. He's a church skipper is our hero, but he runs in and gets to Father Trewin and gets scolded and upbraided for that.
Yes. Father Trewin, our vicar, may I introduce Alessia Damachi, my friend visiting from overseas. Good afternoon, my dear. Trewin holds out his hand, and I would have changed my entire opinion of the book if Father had just been like, "You two banging, huh?" But alas, no.
But during this conversation, something sort of surprising happens. You might have missed it. It's stuck with me. It's she's asking as they walk away from the priest. Vicar is the priest, yes? And are you religious? He asks, surprising her. She begins to say no, but she's cut off. She gets an N out. And I just found that surprising. Like, how hard do you have to be interrupted where you can't get the whole word no out?
Yeah.
I suppose one of those air horns right in the middle of it maybe would be one way, but otherwise, once you start the word no, you're pretty much done.
Yeah, it's not like it's like steel, where you could be like, oh, I could talk myself into having like 1.5 syllables there. That's no.
No, it's just no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes out at once, but somehow it gets cut off. And so just to sort of get more color on this, because I couldn't read on until I solved this issue, I went to the Audible of this book, the unreleased. Oh. Yeah. It's being produced. You said Audible, so there's an Audible version, and then there's this unreleased version? Yes, the unreleased expanded universe edition.
Oh.
Hoping against hope that it would be, obviously, that this scene itself would be expanded, because it does need more. Clearly, there was some explanation to why.
Yeah, very puzzling.
Off. And sure enough, this scene is expanded, so... I got the
good
rights
track
to it.
record of this working out for us.
It does. It does. So why don't we listen to this expanded universe version of being cut off on the word no right now.
Vicar is the priest, yes?
Yes. Are you religious?
Good afternoon, my lord.
Oh, hello. 1 second.
What were you saying, Alessia?
Oh, you asked whether I was religious, which is a yes or no question. I thought it over, and instead of saying yes, I started to say...
Can I get you anything?
Hold that thought, Alessia. Yes, I'll have a Negroni cocktail. Alessia?
Yes, I too would like this cocktail you call...
Find a seat anywhere, folks. Now, miss, I believe you are about to order a banana flip, yes?
Is it happy hour?
The details of happy hour are printed on that sheet right in front of the lady.
Alessia, it's 5:15. Does that make it happy hour, yes or no?
I wish I could say yes, but I'm afraid the answer is...
We have 2 appetizers available, either hot wings or nachos.
Alessia?
Well, Albanians do not eat hot wings, so I guess I'll have the...
What would you like under your drink, a coaster or a cocktail napkin? Well, I guess we'll never get to the bottom of it. What's up with her?
Oh, she's an escaped sex slave.
Ah, bet your groin is tight.
Well, the tightest.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so you can see how that happens.
Yeah, I mean, it seems unlikely that it could happen that many times in a row, but yeah, it gives you a real sense of how saying is something that could be cut off of, and the character would never actually finish the O. They would sense they were being interrupted and drop it.
Yeah. What I found fascinating was we finally get the accurate accent that you would hear from that shopkeeper up in Cornwall. I mean, it's a very peculiar accent, and it's very peculiar to that region. So to hear that.
Shopkeepers in Cornwall, this is I went to Cornwall Fax King, and it says they're often uncertain of what they're supposed to be doing. Some shopkeepers occasionally lapse into Australian accents and have to redo the take. They're not good Australian accents, but they're, and they also sometimes they check accents videos on YouTube and then realize they're getting too far into their own head, and it's not helping the matter. So.
Wow, all of that on Fact King. Amazing.
It's a great website. I've got it bookmarked now.
Yeah. So they go into the pub, I think, right? Yeah, they're into...
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. They're in the pub.
I was uncertain, like, so they're not on his estate anymore. They're in the town. Like,
yeah.
I don't think he owns this place anymore, which comes up. It's important because he has some encounters in this place. But I think that they're like in a town that borders his place, so he's no longer like in charge. He's just sort of the local celebrity.
Right, and so they start having a little chat over their beer, which she's now, I guess, a fan of beer. He runs into a waitress that he has slept with before, of course. Mm-hmm. And then he hears his father's voice ringing in his head. And here comes the F-bomb. Cover earmuffs. Don't fuck the local girls, boy. I just thought, I'm glad we have this that's the little we've heard of his father. That's the warm aphorism he gave his son.
In the previous chapter, it was revealed that his father took him to a brothel when he was 15 and then died the next year. So this is, they had an interesting relationship. That was something that happened on Game of Thrones a lot, I feel like. Right. But in this case, it seems like good advice because the waitress that he hooked up with, Megan, is like everything that Alessia is not. He just like pretty much makes her this hag who's
Pappy
pinched.
was called in to guest write this again.
Oh yeah,
lipstick smeared all over her teeth,
sharding all over the restaurant. Just like it's hilarious. I'll get to the Megan description, but upon entering the pub, Alessia sees on either side, a line of tables, most of whom are occupied by men and women who could be locals or tourists. Alessia doesn't know, but I'm glad she could narrow it down. They could be either people who live here and are coming there from their own homes, or they could be people who might be visiting who do not live here. So it's good to specify that she's not sure which of those two groups everybody falls into.
The binary, yes. We get as the kids say, we get a weird flex from Maxim here. She says she hasn't been to big cities, and he says, not even Tirana. Thanks to my expensive education, I know the capital of Albania. That's a weird thing to brag about. I did not know the capital of Albania, but there's probably other weird things in there. An expensive education doesn't necessarily mean you'll know the capital of Albania.
Yeah, and newsflash, buddy, faxking.com is free, so head on over there next time and maybe save yourself some student loan debt. I studied for Jeopardy, and I did remember the capital of Albania. Then my one story about that one was the guy who beat me. We were sitting in the studio waiting to record, and I was just like trying to make small talk, and I tried to say something about the capital of, I don't even know what it was anymore. Slovenia, I think, is. It's written like Ljubljana, and he was like, he's like, Ljubljana, pronounces it, and he of course had been there for a month. And I was like, oh, this is gonna go poorly. But
trying to work your knowledge of capitals into the small talk with a guy on Jeopardy.
Yeah, the guy who went on to just utterly wipe the floor with me. But I never got Albania's though. This is going to sound crude, but I'm going to say it anyway. She sees there's even a young couple kissing at the back of the pub. Embarrassed, Alessia looks away and sticks close to Mr. Maxim. So I'm just going to put it out there. If she's embarrassed by a couple just sort of smooching at a bar, may not have turned out to be the best sex slave. May not have been the number one draft pick that those guys were hoping for. I mean,
Connor,
what?
You've lowered yourself to Maxim levels here.
What?
She mentions that she says, no, I've never traveled. I have never seen the sea until you brought me here. It's like, yeah, the 6 minutes of jumping around like an idiot did give that impression. We were aware of that. Which causes him he tugs at his sweater collar, embarrassed.
Really?
We get an actual collar tug.
That's incredible.
When the girl gives him a mean look, Megan, sets his ham hock down a little too hard or something. He's like, "Ew, boy, I guess she is mad."
The thing about Megan. Where is the? We get a description. It's back to back. So at some point in time, I realized that he thinks we're like the Memento guy, where if he doesn't remind us how hot she is every couple pages, we're going to forget. Because we get, in the span of this lunch, her loose dark curls falling almost to her waist, her shining eyes, and her radiant smile. She is an exotic beauty.
God.
Okay. Also contrast that to the pictures we that listeners drew this week that we were looking at.
Right.
Your challenge from last week. We posted those on Facebook and Twitter. So those are the horrific depictions we got. But then we get another one very soon after that. Her glance out the window is wistful, but it gives me an opportunity to study her profile. Long lashes, pert nose, pouting lips. I shift in my seat, my blood thickening, steady. But then here comes Megan. Megan appears with her pinched, angry face and scraped back hair, and my problem subsides. What were you thinking, man? What happened 7 years ago?
Oh, man. So, Megan would not like the description that she's an absolute boner killer for just one look at her.
It ruled.
Maybe I should stop scraping my hair back.
Yeah, she's just a pure diner waitress slinging fish pies. She's not even bringing an appetizing sounding dish. Yeah. Your fish pies, mister. But then I did like it.
Out in one of the pies.
She goes full David Foster Wallace on us. Alessia eyes me dubiously as if pondering the camel case Megan situation. I just thought that was a needless artistic flex.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's awful.
Yeah, the Bonnie situation in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it's like when CNN just sort of tags something. This is what we're going to call whatever the situation is, and
right.
We're going to have 72-point font.
Right.
So here's the dialogue from before that I promised. I've just taken out I've just eliminated his side thoughts and italics, and this is just pure dialogue now. Here's his beloved, who we were told is smart and beautiful, perfect beyond any. She's an angel from heaven. Parents, I have a mother and a father, like all people. And what are they like? My mother is brave. Brave? Yes. And your father? He is an Albanian man. And then 2 sentences later, she is passionate and eloquent, painting a vivid picture of her country and her home.
Wow. Yeah.
I just thought, EL, please. You just don't want to. You don't know that you don't have the means to show us this eloquence. Instead, we get, I have a mother and a father like all people.
Yeah, that is amazing. Back to back telling, and then the showing.
Right.
I like that passage too because it really does read like a someone's report in third grade about a country they get assigned. She tells me Albania is a special place where family is at the center of everything, and they're like, it's like it just stops short of saying in finale it is a land of contrasts.
Right.
I just wrote truly Alessia is the king of facts here.
It's a thing that I've noticed on all travel or food shows where they're doing the B-roll and the voiceover. It's like X is a country that is rooted in the past but always looking to the future.
Right. Yes.
Every single time they have to say that.
Right. As if any place has just completely cut ties and has not done, we don't do anything here that happened before 1994. We're cool.
Right. All right.
Well,
what
they go into town. He buys her, I think, some clothes or something, and then he just tosses in a packet of condoms too, making the young woman blush. And I was upset because this defies our comedic premise that he's got condoms spilling out of his pockets at all times. He didn't bring any on this journey. It was bummer.
Oh, he was being pure and righteous. I guess.
But maybe there's like one tucked into his back pocket that went through the laundry a couple times. I don't know. But then they go to they are walking along and he decides he's going to do one of these things where she points out a building and he goes, that place, well, it belongs to the Earl of Trevithick. And so they go through a whole thing where he has an internal dialogue of being like, tell her that's you. No, I want her to love me for me. Which is like, I don't know. I think this happened to this is obviously a cliche where a romantic comedy, she's going to learn who he is. She's going to be upset that he lied to her. But I can't think of the specific examples, but I think that happens in like Puss in Boots where it's like, this belongs to this Earl. And even though that's him, I think that was a major component of that fairy tale.
This is the Hallmark Channel constantly. That's
okay, sure.
75% of their things. It's called like a royal pain. And then, somebody they get amnesia and, oh, I'm actually a prince, or there's some reason they have to withhold. It's unbelievable. So the fact that she's trotting out this war horse when Hallmark's been doing it for 30 years.
Right. And it's not like she's not been misled about his wealth or means and status in society. She's already at his rented villa that she drove to in his Jaguar from his palace. So I don't know why he's, if he wants her to love him for him, he's not exactly presenting himself as a pauper.
Yeah, he's flashing around that Sonos system like that's supposed to get any lady in the sack. He said earlier that she smiled for the first time. This may have been the last chapter or something. And he said, oh, good, she has teeth, which I guess is he says sarcastic things to himself. I don't know. Huh. And then later she smiles again. And it just bothered me. Like he can look at her eyelashes and get turned on. And what is this thing like? How can someone hide their teeth for that long until they smile?
Yeah, especially with all this lip action. She's been biting her lip. Like you don't bite your lip with your lower lip.
And then she gets wet. She falls in the ocean or whatever. And
oh my God.
And he says, shit, she'll catch a cold. And I guess his fancy public education did not include a section on germ theory.
I noted that too. It's I guess it's the mother in him coming out. Who knows? That was a nice standout. He refers to her as she's romping though, because she does more romping in the sea. Yeah, in the span of a page and a half, he says she is effervescent, she is complete, and she is giddy. And then he adds, I'm infatuated, to reiterate yet again. So,
smitten, infatuated. What was the one I just had? I don't know. Enraptured. Every possible way to be absolutely enchanted by a woman. Like he's a slave to her, obviously. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. But then he takes her inside and is like putting her clothes in the dryer, but he's then caught off guard because she's sitting in the drying room with no pants on, and he's like, he somehow has not yet pieced together that she doesn't have clothes, so this surprises him. But he says as he's perving out on her here, I try not to look at her long naked legs, which I thought was an interesting way to describe. So, like, I'm wearing shorts right now. Are my legs naked?
Connor, your naked legs are shocking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Shocking the community.
But then he says, I try not to imagine them wrapped around my waist. I fail. And she's wearing pink panties. Torture. My need is a slow, dull ache. I'll have to shower again. So I was like, does he, is he under the impression that he has to go shower if he wants to take care of that that's like the only setting where that's allowed to happen? Like, because that would be, it must be difficult when he needs to bring his phone in there to watch a video or something to like have he might have a mounted waterproof system for like watching videos in his shower when he needs to take care of business. I don't know. I'm going a little too far into this, but you don't need to shower if you want to, TCB, man.
See, folks, you listen to this podcast not just for our takedown of literature, but also for just hot tips on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's someone out there.
Yeah, there's probably maybe this is not a well-known thing. I don't know. Well, the SpongeBob stuff does make its appearance, of course.
Oh boy!
And what do you think his response is going to be to it? Probably.
He realizes that he's sort of been infantilizing her, and that he really needs to assume more of a protectorate image, and she still is so young and innocent that he can't possibly go on.
I'm afraid not. No, she comes in sort of Meg Ryan style, pizzicato strings, sneaking around in her SpongeBob pajama bottoms and an Arsenal Football Club shirt. I have these, she says with an apologetic and still half tipsy smile. Even in ridiculous faded pajamas and a football shirt, she is stunning. Wow, that'll
do. I smirk as I imagine slipping those trousers off her hips and down her legs.
Oh, this guy is a horn dog. But
that's amazing.
Not for long, because we talked earlier about his rage and gripping the steering wheel. When she plays the piece for him, grief hits me like a tidal wave, crashing over me, drowning me. So now we're done with the water things. A knot forms in my throat, and I try to contain my emotion, but it expands, constricting my ability to breathe. I watch her spellbound, but aching as the music punctures my heart, touches the yawning void that is Kit's absence. So there's waves crashing on him. He's being punctured. There's something expanding in his stomach. He can't breathe. His lungs are collapsing.
I'm thrown like a rodeo clown being trampled by a rank bull from the pen, like who had been thrown off the driver, who had only stayed on for 2 seconds. Like,
remember that old sports thing where the ski jumper crashes, the agony of defeat, and he pinwheels again and again? That's me.
The 2002 Winter Olympic short track speed skating, where the first 4 guys were in racing, and then there was a guy behind him from like New Zealand who wasn't expected to compete, but they all took each other out in a stunning finish, and he skated across. My soul was the first 3 guys.
In fact, stop right now and watch a skater pain video for 15 minutes. That's how I'm feeling.
Wow. Yeah, settle down, man. Having all that read out loud makes it sound so much worse.
Yeah, it's awful.
But yeah, so he cries because the piece was about his brother. So that is really, really touches him. But he doesn't just cry. This was you used the term earlier, and I assume because you had read it in this. But I bury my face in her hair and inhale her soothing scent yet again, and I cannot stop the tears sliding down my face. Shit, she's unmanned me. Just not a term I'm super familiar with, but I guess being upset that your brother died means you've been unmanned.
Yeah,
well done.
Yeah, he didn't cry at the hospital, didn't cry at the funeral. Haven't cried since my father died when I was 16 years old. And now,
maybe because he knew he would have no more trips to brothels because his father wouldn't take him there anymore.
Right. I think that's all I have for chapter 13.
This was before she made him cry, but he did have this set as it only warrants exclamation marks. Walking towards her, he eyes her football shirt and her cartoon PJs and rubs his chin as if considering her hypothesis. I love that you're dressed like a 13-year-old boy.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize he'd said that out loud.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, that's new information.
So yeah, that's the good. But yeah, we go to chapter 14.
By the way,
14.
we skipped over two things I should note that I have omitted, counting the number of times he's run his hands through his hair. You're on your own there, but it happens quite a bit. And I didn't get into the emails and texts that he sent.
Oh, yeah. He had a lot of emails to Carolyn just saying where she was.
The dullest stuff. It's skippable. It's as skippable as a Tolkien song. You just go right over it.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, Carolyn is out there very suspicious and worrisome and needing him, etc. So that's just to keep track of the plot. That's what's happening with her.
Right. But then we get to a chapter that I'm afraid I only have 2 notes on. I'm sure you have more.
Oh boy!
But this is it's pretty pornographic at this point.
Oh yeah, yeah. So let's just talk about it for a second. Like it delves way more into, what I was expecting, I guess is the way to say that. But it does so in a way that I just don't understand. If this is what you're after, and it is, if you're reading this, I just don't understand why you cage it in the garbage that precedes all this.
Yeah, I don't get that either. The all this time wasting up to this. But I did, as I was perusing the Amazon reviews, that is a common theme among the 1-star and 2-star reviews.
What? Not enough of this?
Well, it takes really long time to get going, by which I assume they mean getting to this, I guess.
Okay.
So that has been noted and that's well known.
But yeah, so I don't want to. They do everything you'd expect, but I think there are some things worth discussing in here. He says Alessia, and he says her name is a blessing. Earlier in the book, he said Alessia, her name is a prayer. So you've got that nonsense going for you. I want you to guess something here. We've had a lot of guessing games today, but she moves to hold and stroke my face, which is still damp with tears, and her caress spirals like a tornado through my body. My body responds. How does his body respond?
Tightening?
It just is a simple fuck. So I'll just say this out loud. I read this sex scene, and it reminded me of Meatloaf.
Oh,
yeah. He growls deep in his throat. My arousal complete, straining against black denim, and it reminded me of one of my favorite Meatloaf lyrics from the last song on Bad Outta Hell. He says, "And can't you see my faded Levi's bursting apart?"
Oh, I never knew that. Is that Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, or?
No, that is For Crying Out Loud, which is the most bombastic song on it. So
that is saying a mouthful. The most bombastic song.
But yeah, so you've got both of his Gene Boner lines in both of these songs. So that's the caliber that we're working with here.
Yeah, and we already had the classic of him having to hide his boner from his sister-in-law. So it's to outdo it. She's got a lot of work to do here.
Yeah, all it's missing is him having to tuck it into the waistband to go up to the blackboard and do a problem in algebra class or something. This was good. Her mouth forms a perfect soundless O, and the only image that came to mind when she did that was the all the Peanuts gang at the end of Charlie Brown Christmas singing "Hark the Herald's Angels Sing." Yes, 100%. I went and looked it up just to make sure they're all doing that exact O, like their lips are. So that's what you can think about when you read about them boning.
I have I have 2 notes. I have a lip update. She bites her top lip and her eyes dart toward the window. So that's what her lips. She's biting it again. Top lip. So weird. Do it right now. I want to make love to you, I whisper. That's also new information. But so it's all cliched garbage until this moment. It's music to my dick.
So I was reading that out on our balcony. The book nearly went 4 floors down to the ground. It was like the scanner's head exploding moment. I guess kudos. She had something there.
It made me laugh, I guess.
Yeah, it was a lot of, everyone wrote in about that. Everyone pretty much wrote in, well, of course I don't need to tell you what my dub sentence is, but here it is. It's the music to my dick line. So, I mean, you tip your cap at some point in time. Like that's the sort of thing that I think that if when people are doing their own fan fiction, when people try to make bad movies, you can't mess with the masters of it. And it's because of stuff like that.
Yeah, but we do. The other thing that is a real note to me is the Albanian comes out. And I didn't go to Fact King for this, and I'm kicking myself now. Edhe une te deshiraj.
Okay.
And Zot, of course.
Yeah.
And then te lutum, te lutum, te lutum. English, please. English. And she says, please, please. So until she might have just gone with that out of pure convenience of not having to say te lutum, te lutum, te lutum.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know the English word. It's much more compact.
Yeah, he's sort of like he's going for he's establishing a lot of consent during these moments. He's saying, I want to hear this, like say, but then he starts being like, she's nodding and stuff. And we've already sort of established that this is going to be a tricky maneuver when she's like, do you want coffee? And she nods or shakes her head no, but she means yes. Right. So this is going to be.
That is a minefield. I forgot about that.
So the other things that struck me, so music to my dick was about as crass as it gets, but some of this other stuff has this weird romance level knowledge. 2 words I'd never heard before. She stills me for a second, then grabs my hair firmly, tugging hard, and kisses me with ardor.
Yeah.
Ardor?
Yeah.
Anything?
I know that word.
Okay. And then she gasps, her fingers pressed to my scalp as I gently lave her nipple.
That one I did not know. I don't know.
Okay,
did you look it up?
I did not. I assume it. I hope it's something that is what I assume is happening, and not some, weird Urban Dictionary term.
Oh yeah, please no.
Her scent is clean and wholesome. I don't know what he was expecting exactly, but like a lobster fisherman or like the beaded curtain of a video store. Those would have both come as non-wholesome surprises.
Those one of those backrests that the cab drivers use. So that would be another one.
He calls her baby. He calls her sweetheart. He calls her beautiful. And I just had my fingers crossed that he was going to slip in a Megan. She was like, "What? I'm not pinched and hair knotted back in a tight bun, like
scraped my hair back,
wart on my nose with 2 hairs coming out of it." And she's moaning. She moans Zot a lot, which I think we might as well share. People were sending in things, and someone on Patreon said that Zot is what the anteater in the comic strip BC says when he eats an anteater. So you can think about that every time she's moaning Zot every time that they're doing it.
That fits in surprisingly well, actually.
And then my favorite sentence of the sex scene was, "Wow," I whisper. "She's finally naked in my bed, and she's sexy as hell."
It would have been great if it was just a total letdown.
Right, yeah. Where he's like, "You know what? Finally seeing you like this, it's not doing it for me. My groin is loose as hell."
Yeah, I just burped some bacon into my mouth and tasting beer. Yeah, this is not going to happen.
But yeah, so they do it. He's evidently a master of what he does because he brings her pleasure like no woman has ever had before. And by the end of it, he's getting himself off, and he's forceful, loudly calling her own name. I just imagined a loud Zot. But yeah, that's how it ends. They
Zot screamed like Kirk screams Khan. It would be a nice. We should make that meme, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I will take care of that. But I think that's where this one ends. They finally have sealed the deal, and we're not even at the halfway point of the book.
It was much longer than I thought, but I guess this is what the people came for, and so I guess for me, I just kind of mostly skipped over it. But I hope there's not a lot of long chapters like this. Well, maybe I hope there is, so I can just skip them.
I mean, you've got to read him, just because if she does toss in the random bomb like music to my dick, you've got to be prepared for that.
That's true.
I think we've got a decent amount of people who wrote in. So let's get straight to people's. Well, we have a first one is from a recent college graduate named Chris. He graduated college, I guess, this week. So he's already putting his degree to good use.
He knows the capital of Albania.
Yeah, that was part of the commencement speech. I think that one guy paid everyone's student loan debt, and another Chris's speaker droned on for 20 minutes, just being like his wear sunscreen advice was know the capital of Albania. But he wrote in, he says he just has a couple of different sentences and they all sort of build. Alessia grins, you are cunning like the wolf. Cunning is my middle name, he says, looking pleased with himself, and Alessia can't help but laugh. And he says, Alessia has the same standards for humor as the characters in an Ernest Cline book. The next sentence, in Albania, we shake our head to say yes, and we nod to say no, she explains. Wow, that must be confusing. Maxim is officially the dumbest character in 372 pages history. He cannot comprehend that people who are raised in a different culture have no trouble with the customs of that culture when it's the only thing they have ever known. Then he says, so she mixes up yes and no. I wonder if I should review any of our previous conversations given this new information. Apparently you shouldn't, seeing as how you never come back to this pointless thought, but I did take the time to review their previous conversations. On page 147, human trafficking, I whisper, and I watch her reaction. She nods once, her eyes tightly closed. And he adds, in light of Alessia's new information about Albanian customs, I choose to believe she was actually saying that no, she was not being trafficked, and that the rest of the book is actually a farcical sitcom-level misunderstanding. And my God, that would be tremendous. If that was the Shyamalan twist.
Oh, I hope so.
Next email comes from your old friend Dave Berkey, host of Like Trees Walking with You.
Oh, Dave! Dave reading the Mister. This is
he says
scandalous.
He gets that right out of the way. I am not reading this book.
Okay,
but the whole sexy time with sex trafficking victim theme reminds me of the James Bond movie Skyfall, where 007 initiates shower sex with a woman who has just been rescued from sex slavery, and she thinks that Bond is dead. I'm not sure if she thinks that the character James Bond is dead or that the guy initiating the shower sex with her is a zombie or something. I don't know. But he says, it creeped me out 6.5 years ago and it still does today. Perhaps this served as inspiration for E.L. James. Keep up the good work. I'll hang up and listen. So yeah, I guess this is I guess if you just have a guy who's as suave as James Bond or Mr. Maxim, all the sex slavery trauma goes by the wayside.
I think there's a shocking one of the early ones. I think Bond does something like punches a woman, and then it's just so there's a history. He's not necessarily a great guy.
Okay, yeah, but still, it's it's not going to be something that is easy to let go of from this reader's perspective. We have a reader named Moop. I'm not sure what that means or is, but I have to say I've never. If this is relating to last week's installment, if Maxim has never known anyone who doesn't trust the cops, because remember he says that he's never met Magda. If he's never known anyone who doesn't trust the cops, he has the ballsiest drug dealers ever. Even the random people he meets on Tinder for blow isn't afraid of talking to cops. He travels in strange circles indeed.
That's a good point.
And then the last email is from John. Funny typo on page 166 where Maxim says, I can see your brain working from here. What is it? Ask me? And ask me has a question mark after it. He says the final question mark sounds like he is not sure if she should ask him. As a side, as a composer myself, the line, do composers make a lot of money in England, strikes me as particularly funny.
That is good.
Then he also said, bathed in the soft, rosy light from the gathering dusk, she's exquisite, even in SpongeBob pajama trousers. He says, more romantic sentences should end with, even in SpongeBob pajama trousers. That strikes me as this book's, said the robot pimp disdainfully.
Or he said to the recent sex trafficking victim.
Yes, exactly. So we've got a couple of those. Those should be good to add on going forward. But even though we've read possibly the dumbest sentences all of literature with music to my dick, we've got to do the dumb sentences that we didn't cover, so let's do some dumb sentences of the week.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. A sentence always ends with a period, or an exclamation.
All right,
or a
dumb sentence
mark.
of the week. What do you got, Connor?
David and Brian G. both submitted, I've been fighting my attraction to her since I saw her standing in my hallway holding that broom.
boy, oh boy.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And then one of them, I forget, I think David added, or maybe Brian, no, you haven't, you disingenuous ass, unless all that moaning and groaning at our touch passes for fighting. Amanda submitted, he grins when he sees her, his face lighting up like a child at New Year's, and he holds out his hand. She says, maybe kids love New Year's in Albania, though. Who knows? I didn't check Facts King. But yeah, in Albania, maybe kids are the ones who stay up till midnight and adults go to bed. So kids' faces light up when the fireworks happen at midnight. But
may I stay up till midnight? And then shake your head no. Yay!
Laura submits his security buddy says, yes, Trevithick, keep your bloody hair on.
Never heard that.
No, I guess that's possibly an Albanian thing. In Albania, it's like Lidsville. The hats are the sentient ones, and they wear you. They wear your hair. Andrew, I brought her to Cornwall because I want to protect her from them, and now I have to protect her from myself. That's a very dumb action movie-y kind of line. And he does nothing of the sort, as we all know. Jessica, up close, she notices that the irises are this is darker green along the edge, the color of a cuckoo's fur, while toward the dilating pupil, they're lighter like a fern in spring, as covered. And then Justin, Janelle, many other people submitted, it's like music to my dick.
That could be over all of our books. That could be the one.
I myself, I had one, breaking in a virgin is a big responsibility. But one that just really, in a romance novel, I just enjoyed the character of Megan. I hope we get more information about what went wrong with her.
I could tell you.
But we get the fact that it's just this one right here. Her face is sour, but the fish pie is warming and delicious, and there's no sign that anyone spat in it.
That's right. I did note that. And I also did note this character, like you said, delivering fish pies.
She's just like speaking of BC, she's like the fat broad character in that. She's just this haggard, mannish, poor Megan.
Yeah, she runs like an old timey ferry raft that she pushes across, and these are the fish that just jumped up onto the raft when I came over here today. Oh, Megan, we want more of you. Mine is, I'm sort of technically cheating, but you'll understand. There's a period after these. Mine is a 3-word sentence. And
I'll allow it.
There are periods after it, but I'm ignoring the stylistic thing here. My sentence is, Kit, fuck, why? So.
I had highlighted that one too. It was coming on just a string of terrible prose, but that was going all on one sentence. Maybe question the layout of all that. Were any of those italicized?
I think they were. You just take your pick, though. I think it's just 1/3 or either 2/3 or 1/3 was italicized.
So yeah, disingenuous of him when she played the music he had written for Kit to start sobbing and say he had never grieved until then, when he had said Kit fuck why
right.
Just a few pages ago.
That's right. That is an outpouring of grief.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I think that does it for this week. Thanks to, again, everyone who supports us on Patreon and who submitted all the amazing fan art. 5 different people drew that challenge of her eyelashes and eyes and all that stuff last week. So kudos to all of them.
Yeah, and they were distinct and different. Each one had a different view of what that sentence could mean. So, you go check them out. It's a good gallery.
Yes, absolutely. If anyone else is inclined to draw anything from this thing, we would always appreciate it, and send it to us and we'll repost it. But for next time, we're going to read up to page 319 through chapter 19. And that should take us into some more, hopefully some more drama with the Albanian wet bandits, hopefully. Maybe some more suspicions from Caroline, and maybe some more Megan, if we are lucky.
Barb T says that she couldn't put it down, that the action just keeps rolling. So there's something ahead. So hang in there and keep reading, and we'll be back with another 372 pages. We'll never get back.
See ya.